Hey, everybody. Wow, what a great room. Okay, before you put your clapping hands away, the only reason I'm here is because 19 years ago, my mom saw an ad in the newspaper, and it said, "Future champions wanted." And she thought to herself, okay, my kid's not a champion, but I need a place to stick him after school, and the canoe club sounds like a pretty good place. So she brought me down to the canoe club, and I will say that I think over the course of our, 32 years, Mom? That's the single best piece of parenting that my mom's done. And I think every TED mom and TED dad, and there's probably a lot here, and there's probably even more watching back home on the live stream, have done something really, really significant in their TED speaker kids' lives. So I just want you to, maybe acknowledge the fact that we're all here because there's awesome TED parents. And I don't think without TED parents, I don't think we'd have much to talk about as TED speakers. So I've got a couple of stories for you guys. The first one brings us back to 1995, which is when I started kayaking at the Burloak Canoe Club. And like I said, my mom saw this ad in the newspaper. It said, "Future champions wanted." And she thought, okay, my kid's got hair down to here. He won't leave home without his acoustic guitar. He tried out for the volleyball team, the basketball team, the hockey team, the track and field team. He tried out for the cross-country team. Okay, I made the cross-country team, but everybody makes the cross-country team. I think there's a rule in elementary schools that says if a kid tries out for cross-country, do not dissuade him from wanting to run in the woods, or her from running in the woods. Everybody's allowed to run in the woods. The school doesn't own the woods. So I did run a little bit of cross-country. So early on, my mom brought me down to the canoe club, and I think, as I said in the video, the first people that I saw when I walked into the canoe club doors were 3 Olympians, Scott Oldershaw and Larry Kane, who are my current coaches, and Dean Oldershaw, who was my first coach. These guys were incredibly inspirational and motivational right away. That was like a given. These guys are the best coaches in the world. And my mom was pretty excited, not just because she's a single lady and she met these 3 guys, but okay, now my mom's mad because she's here and I just embarrassed her. Sorry, Mom. But she was pretty excited because this seemed like a great place to stick me after school. I was one of these 13-year-olds that was too young to take care of myself and too old for a babysitter, obviously. So the canoe club was a great place for me. And before too long, I wanted to start going in the morning. The coaches were, encouraging me to train twice a day. So I needed a ride to the canoe club at 5 o'clock in the morning. And my mom made a deal with me. This is the first story. My mom made a deal with me that says, if you knock on my door with a cup of hot coffee in your hand, then you get a ride to practice. If you don't knock on my door with a cup of hot coffee in your hand, then you're riding your bike. And at 5 o'clock in the morning, nobody wants to ride their bike 8 kilometers to the canoe club. So that was the deal. So I learned how to make coffee. And at first, I'm 13, I didn't start drinking coffee until I was, probably 13. I probably started drinking coffee then, actually, thanks to the caffeine addiction, Mom. But at that point, I realized that it wasn't just about the coffee, although if the kayaking thing didn't work out, then I got a good Tim Donut job lined up, making coffee. But what she was teaching me wasn't just to, make her breakfast. It was my thing. And if I wanted to go to the canoe club, it had to be my thing. She's not my alarm clock. She wasn't going to wake me up. She wasn't going to tell me to go to practice. I had to initiate that every single morning. And that was super valuable for me. And I don't think she had the term executive capacity in her head. And, well, I can guarantee she didn't, but that's what it taught me, is the term executive capacity. And I didn't start thinking about that term until I was probably in my 20s, but when I think back, I learned that if I want to achieve something great, then it's my foot on the gas pedal. And if I don't push it down, then the car won't move. And if I don't get out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning, when my alarm goes off and I don't go downstairs, make my mom a cup of coffee, then I'm not getting to practice without riding my bike. So it's a pretty valuable skill. In addition to that, it also taught me value exchange. I wanted something. I wanted to ride to practice. So I had to do something for somebody else first. And that was really, really valuable at that time. So that was way back in 1995. Lots of races between then and 2002. I don't have time to tell you about every single race, although I'd love to. But 2002 was a bit of a transition year for me. I needed to branch out, go find some international training partners, because I wasn't finding the competitiveness that I needed on 16 Mile Creek in Oakville. I couldn't train with anybody in Canada, so I basically had to go abroad. So I made a couple of phone calls, and I ended up going down to Australia without an invitation. And at this point, this is where I learned the value of showing up somewhere at the right time, the right place, the wrong time, uninvited. I went down to Australia because I knew the best kayakers in the world were training down there, and I wanted to be one of the best kayakers in the world. I didn't have a boat down there, so I rented one. I didn't have a house down there or a car down there, so I found a bike, and I rented an apartment, kind of like a floor. It was actually a garage, for $50 a week. I was pretty broke, but that was the first time I can remember actually putting extreme executive capacity to work. At the age of 20, I decided, okay, I'm going to fly down, I'm going to take the semester off school, I'm going to fly down to Australia, I'm going to get on the water, and I'm going to find some great kayakers to paddle because I basically need to copy them. So this is like James Bond reconnaissance time. I got to go and spy on the best guys in the world because I wasn't getting it home. So I got down there and I heard that the Swedish team, these two guys, Marcus and Henrik, are training at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I don't want to miss them. They have no idea I'm there. So I get on the water. At 6:50 in the morning, I do little circles around the dock for 10 minutes. And then they get on the water pretty promptly. And I'm like, oh, hey, I'm Adam. I'm from Canada. Yeah, you've never heard of me before. I was wondering if I could train with you guys this morning. The Canadians aren't here yet. They're coming later. And and Marcus looks at me and he speaks perfect English because everybody from Scandinavia is perfect and whatever. And he looks at me and he goes, you know, we rented you that kayak, and we know we only rented one. You're the only Canadian here, right? He's like, yes, I'm the only Canadian here. Can I train with you, please? And he kind of said yes. So I was allowed to ride his wash, which is like in drafting and cycling. So I was behind him, and one day I was behind him and behind Henrik. I was riding their wash. I was trying as hard as I could to keep up. And I was working really hard, and it had been like 4 or 5 days since I've been training with them, and I still didn't feel like we were friends. Like, I felt like, okay, I'm on the water with these guys. They're a lot older than me. They're crazy. They're 6'4" and 6'3". They have tattoos. They chew tobacco on the water. They're real Vikings. Like, they're terrifying. Totally terrifying. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to make a joke with Henrik. So I look over. Today I'm going to make a joke with Henrik. He's like the lighter one, nicer guy, like more good-humored. So anyways, I look over and he's got a leaf attached to the front of his boat. It's just like making a lot of like spray come up, and some of it's getting in his face and whatever. It's really annoying. If you've ever kayaked before and you get leaves attached, that season is coming up right now. October, my creek is going to be covered in leaves. It's going to be the worst. That's called first world problems. Yeah. So I'm going along, and Henrik gets a big leaf attached to the front of his boat, and it's making a mess, and he can't get it off, and I'm paddling along. I'm going like 150%. That's a hockey term. I'm going 150%. And I'm trying to keep up, and I go, hey, Henrik, you got a leaf attached to the front of your boat. And I got the joke in the back of my mind, and before I could say anything, he looks over and he goes, yes, it's probably a maple leaf which has come to spoil my training. I'm like, oh, man. You can keep laughing, I need a drink. So I put executive capacity into play a little bit there down in Australia. But what I really learned was that I was youthful, and I had that youthful vigor that I think you really only have at one point in your life. I had this attitude that said, yeah, you can go down to Australia and join a training group if you don't even know the people. You can just introduce yourself on the water and say, hey, can I come and train with you, and then train with them for 6 weeks. Like, that took something. I don't know what it's called, like gusto or something. I should probably look it up before my talk, but I don't know what it is. And whatever it is, I had that, youthful vigor. And that was like 12 years ago. Which is crazy, because in that 12 years, I've paddled 45,000 kilometers, and I'm still doing it. So people always ask me, like as recently as out there, somebody was like, oh, you've been kayaking for 20 years? Cool. Why do you still do it? Because I've paddled like 90,000 kilometers in my life, and so it's getting to the point where, people are asking me, you're going to your 4th Olympics in 2 years, hopefully? Yeah, hopefully, but, So anyways, that's actually the question that inspired a little bit of this talk. And as you transition from youthful vigor, you get something called veteran wisdom. And that's something that you can't fake. And maybe I have a little bit of veteran wisdom now. What my veteran wisdom right now is telling me to do is to go back down to Australia and train with some kids. Because my training group's not old by any means. I'm the oldest one in it. But I'm starting to lose that a little bit. That like go-get-itiveness, whatever you call it. That like push the foot down on the gas pedal as soon as as soon as you push start, just go for it. And there's a lot of really fast kids in Australia right now. So in January, I'm going back down to Australia for the first time since 2002 to transfer some of my veteran wisdom back into youthful vigor so that I can continue my dream of being one of the best kayakers in the world. And the other thing that Marcus and Henrik really taught me down there, and I mean, didn't just learn it then, but I earned the respect and the friendship of my competitors and my superiors. These guys were way better than me, older than me, smarter than me. They had Olympic medals. And the only way that I was able to earn their respect was through really hard work. So those are my 3 things. Executive capacity, value exchange, and youthful vigor transferring into veteran wisdom. So now I've got all this veteran wisdom, and like I said, I think if you're going to chase after a dream, if you're going to be, the best broadcaster you can be, the best doctor you can be, the best speaker you can be, the best kayaker, the best parent, whatever it is, then you've got to chart a path. You've got to have some kind of a map in your head. First you need a destination, then you need a way to get there. And if you're going to push that gas pedal all the way down to the floor, then you need executive capacity. It's going to take a lot of hard work, and you might have to recreate a little bit of youthful vigor along the way. The Olympics are in 2 years. We've got the Pan Ams here next summer. I got a lot more racing in these elbows, so wish me luck. Thanks for being such a great audience, Toronto. Amazing. Thank you.